Marianne knows at Kew Gardens. Fragile. By early September, Marianne has gone in a large airy room in the hotel des Strangers in Botafogo on the outskirts of Rio, with a perfect view of Sugarloaf and the Corcovado Mountains. Sir Joseph Hooker had told her the hotel was a hall unfit for execution. Christian and the landlord a lawyer. But Marianne did not believe him and never repented going there. In any case, he felt he could put up with any harbor to stay and paint to such a glorious country. Rio was very colorful and the house somewhat reminiscent of Spain and Sicily. The inhabitants had the same love of hanging out, gaudy draperies and flowers from their windows, here with the addition of feral and monkeys screaming and scrambling after the passers-by. Every morning at 6 a.m., Marianne took the mule car to the famous botanic garden nearby. Here she made a study of a remarkable avenue of royal palm, which was said to be half a mile in length. The Austrian director allowed Marianne to keep her easel and other equipment to his house, in his house, and shouted angrily at anyone who got between Marianne and the subject she was painting. As usual, Marianne fell on her feet for an expedition to the belly of the Bay of Rio and the Sugarloaf Mountain, Brazil. Corcovado Mountain, she had the good fortune to meet Mr. Gordon, the manager of a mine, and his daughter Mary. This resulted in an invitation to stay with them at their home to Morobello and Minas Gerais. The weather was particularly wet at the time, and the mud indescribably awful, and all her friends in Rio were against making the trip. One assured her there was nothing to paint. Another said she would find the scenery very monotonous, while another declared that the route was impassable and that travelers were being turned back. Marianne, however, was not to be deterred. Part of the journey was undertaken in a carriage drawn by 4 mules, which went so fast that Marianne was not able to appreciate the superb scenery and longed to dismount. There were magnificent tall trees, scarlet ericinas and orange flowered cassias draped with bougainvilleas, ferns, begonias, arums, agaves, and many other wonders. At Julius the Fora, 37 mules were loaded up with luggage and riders for the great journey to the Golden Zone. The weather was terrible, and the mule stumbled into the wicked mud hole or became so stuck that they had to be lifted out bodily by head and tail. Once the mule in front of Marianne plopped into the mule up to its neck, and the man was ordered to carry Marianne on his back. However, with her extra study of the traveler's tree, in the Botanic Garden at Rio, Brazil. Side avenue of the Royal Palm, Botagora, Brazil. Flowers of Brazilian forestry, revealing its long, showy stamens. Brazil, foliage and flowers of bougainvillea with a bird and Brazilian ruby. Landscape at Morobello, Brazil. In the foreground is a colony of butterflies going to roost on a single segment of a palm leaf, from which they will never move until the sun's ray reaches them in the morning. The insect has a powerful musk-like scent, which often attracted Marianne to it. Yellow begonia and swallowtail butterflies with a view of Konglish, Brazil. The aqueduct of Morobello, Brazil, with the coral mountains in the background. In the foreground, part of an fluorescence of a banana with a species of Imponea and amethyst woodstock birds. Banana, woodstock. Weight, which she remarked was no light one, he sank further into the mirror and saw Marianne scramble back onto her mule, who stood steady as a rock and seemed to grin to herself at the idea of anyone but herself having the strength to carry me. In some small towns, conditions were so terrible that many of the inhabitants had not been out for a month or more. Often the travelers were soaked to the skin and found it difficult to dry out. Marianne's attire consisted of a short linsey petticoat, a long waterproof cloak, and a walled black straw hat. While on her pommel, she carried a rolled-up silk waterproof for extra wet hours. Eventually, they arrived in Casa Grande, the Gordon's home. She had agreed to spend 2 weeks with the Gordon, but in retrospect, they laughed for. She stayed 8 months. It was an artist's paradise, with a garden filled with beautiful plants, and in the wood nearby, there were banks of sensitive plants, wild ginger, whose flowers scented the whole air, the enormous castor wild plants. The garden kept a number of pets, including 2 macaws, one blue with a yellow breast, the other red and green, who was a great friend of the cat. Marianne recalled that these 2 strange friends used to huddle close together, scratching each other's heads. Occasionally, after overzealous scratching, they were low and noisy argument in a macawish and a cat language. Marianne's greatest friend was the mongrel dog, Lopez, who used to accompany her with the forest, clearing the way and giving all enemies, such as snake, notice to quit. She delighted delighted in all the wildlife she encountered, particularly the gorgeous blue and oval morpho butterfly, which flapped their great wide wings with a kind of seesaw motion, the spider as big as sparrows, and the walked sloths, which crept slowly along the branches of trees. The highlands of Brazil brought Marianne fresh wonders. She and the Gordons spent some months there, visiting friends or staying at inns or other lodgings. Once Marianne spent a fortnight virtually alone in a deserted house, going out early each morning on her mule to find some choice spot in the forest to paint, and returning in time for a good wash before dinner. The accommodation she encountered was very varied. Sometimes she was lodged in the best room with very luxury, tubes of water, embroidered towel, Stampner's meal, and the best of coffee at Wildflowers Moro Bello, Brazil, and climbing over a forest tree. Flowers and fruit of mariposa and passion flower, Brazil. Left. White flowers, bladderwort, the epicryptic carnivorous plant with a Brazilian signature fish. View of the world gold works from the veranda of Mr. Gold's house of Moro Bello, Brazil, with Mongolia, grand flower, and various pet animals in the foreground. Opposite. Group of wild meadow flowers of Brazil with golden banana and greater Annie or Imuda eggs. The flowers include a white species of and yellow with dark center. Banana, greater Annie egg, other times conditions were excessively primitive. Rivera, she said, a very tolerable mud-floored room to myself, and a quantity of pigeon pattering over the mat, which did duty for a ceiling over my head, cooing to each other, and kicking down dust and fleas. It was a very far cry from her comfortable Victorian world, but she seemed to enjoy it to the full, often relishing, describing the awfulness of her experience in Redder's home. Eventually, all good things come to an end, and soon Marianne was steaming toward England in company with 9 little singing birds, which she kept on the spare berth in her cabin. Marianne spent the next few months back in England learning to etch on copper and enjoying the company of an increasing number of friends. It was an unusually cold winter, and Marianne found the weather quite unbearable.